Hello, this is Chaim Shapiro from Turo College. Welcome to You Give Me 20 Minutes. I'll give you a winning LinkedIn profile. This is going to be a rather intense session, and we're going to go through the factors and things you need to include for a winning LinkedIn profile relatively quickly. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message afterwards, and I'll be happy to walk you through any particular part of this individually. Let's go to the edit mode of your profile. Click the little me button. Click view profile. This is going to take you into the edit mode of your profile. The place I like to start is what I call the LinkedIn triumvirate, the three most important parts of LinkedIn that show up everywhere that you do. Those are your name, your LinkedIn headline, and your LinkedIn photo. So the way you change two of those, your name and your LinkedIn headline, are through this little button right over here. Let me click on this, and you'll see here gives you the opportunity to put in your name, first name, last name. Sounds simple, a little bit more complicated than that because you don't want to put things like MED or CPA or anything like that, any suffix into the name, because what that does is it skews search results and makes it more difficult for people to tag you. You can add a former name, which would be a maiden name. I work with a lot of students that have a secular name, let's say like Howard, but their Hebrew name will be Yitzi. They'll put Yitzi over here just so people know that and can relate to them when they're actually searching for their names. Don't worry about putting your pronouns in at this time because actually LinkedIn has added a section for that. We can actually include your pronouns. There's three choices given here. Or if you would like, you can actually choose a custom pronoun that allows you to make the pronoun that best represents you. Now, here I think is the most important component in real estate and all of social media. This is your LinkedIn headline. If somebody sees you and they see your name and they see your profile photo, what makes them interested in engaging more with you? And that's what you want to put here. So the default that it comes down to, which is usually director at Turo College, for example, is not what you want to put. You want to put a real strong push that tells people who you are, what you're going to be able to do for them. I've seen students put things like aspiring CPA candidate with experience in state and local tax, and then audit focus and things like that. Experience working at IRS Vita during tax season. Things like that really tell people who you are and what you bring to the table and make you stand out. I can separate different ideas here with little lines. I like to use this because I believe it gives a little bit more of an idea of motion on it. So you want to make sure that you're really taking advantage of this. You can increase the number of characters you can use so you can really put a robust headline that really describes who you are and what you bring to the table. And just to show you one other thing here, it also gives you the opportunity to choose an industry. LinkedIn limits the industry that you choose here, and it only gives you a certain number of choices, but it's important to choose one because search results really do look for the industry. And if you don't put anything there, it's going to work against you. So you definitely want to put that industry there as well. Okay, I'm going to click out of this right now and go into the third part of the triumvirate, which is your picture, which they took out of this little pencil and put over here. There are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, let me click on this picture right over here. You see, gives me the opportunity to view or edit it. So what should you be wearing? You should be wearing the same clothes you would wear to a networking event in your profession if C-suite people were coming. So this would be very different if you're working, for example, for a bank versus working for a place like Google. Now, the idea here also is what's really in at the moment is sort of an off-centered picture with a dark background, but you definitely don't need to use that. But you definitely want to make it look professional. You can definitely add a photo simply by using the camera on your computer. I usually advise against that because it doesn't look as professional. You want it to make this as professional as it can be. Now, in addition to that, and one of the reasons they also moved that here is because LinkedIn just added the ability to add what's called a cover story. Your cover story is a 30-second video that you could actually film on your phone, and then that will actually play in the background of your photo when people are actually clicking on it. I think it's a great new feature and it gives people the opportunity to really make sure that they can express what it is that makes them different and makes them stand out compared to other people. Now, this is just launched, and you can actually look at mine. I want to change mine because it's not quite as professional as I'd like it to be. But the idea here is I think you need to be wearing the same clothes you'd be wearing in the profile photo and really give people an idea as to what you bring to the table. This really is an elevator pitch because this is your opportunity in those 30 seconds to really, really sell people on you and what you bring to the table. So this is a very exciting change to LinkedIn that I believe has a lot of potential going forward. Now, next thing I want to do is you got to make sure you have your custom profile URL. It's called a Vanity URL. Go up over here, click on Edit Public Profile and URL right over here. So this is going to default to linkedin.com/in, a bunch of the letters of your name and a bunch of numbers. Go in there and change that. and you want to get to be as close to your name as possible. So Chaim Shapiro wasn't particularly difficult. I was able to get the name Chaim Shapiro. If you can't get that name, you could actually do a dash in between. This might be where you put in Masters in Education, MED, CPA, but you definitely want to get that and save it. And once you actually save that, that's going to be your new LinkedIn URL. And that's something you're going to be able to utilize in the signature line of your emails going forward. So it is very important to make sure that you get that. People often ask what this little button right over here is. This is actually a name pronunciation tool, which for people with names like, well, like Chaim, it's actually a very effective tool because it allows you to pronounce your name. This is only available on the app currently, so you can actually record 10 seconds as to how to pronounce your name. I usually advise folks to keep it just with your name. Don't put other selling points. Use that in your LinkedIn cover story, but you need to go onto the app in order to be able to do that. Okay, next thing is your contact information, which is right over here. You hover over this, you click on contact info, click this little pencil, and this gives you the opportunity to share a personal website. Now here is what I want to show you here. If I click add website, see personal, there's no field for adding more information. I'm going to choose portfolio, nothing here. Look what happens when I choose the other button. Gives me the opportunity to describe what my website is, like I did here, book LinkedIn workshops. So I think it's very important for people to choose the other button, even if it is a personal website, because that allows them to describe where you're sending them when they actually click onto your website. So I think it is a good idea to choose that other button and utilize that feature. You see here, in addition, I do have my cell phone number. Question I get is, well, don't you get people bothering you with spam calls? And the answer is yes, I do. But I'd rather get a couple spam calls, which I get anyway, than miss somebody very, very important. I don't have my address because I don't want people showing up at my house. I do have my birth date, not my birth year, because that's actually a security question. And the reason I do that is because it gives people a good engagement opportunity on my birthday every year. So that's how you change your contact information. One last thing here to show you at the top of the profile is your background image. This should help promote your brand. Notice this is a wide image. And the idea here is to put something that really shows people, that confirms who you are. Because I'm a person who claims he can give great LinkedIn workshops, I have a picture of myself giving a LinkedIn workshop. And these folks staring in right over here sell me better than I ever possibly sell myself. I've seen computer security students put up things here that are related to the zeros and the ones and computer security. They can be creative with that and utilize their imagination, but make sure that it actually does promote their brand. Just so you see here, LinkedIn does give you a couple choices. Now, these are better than nothing, but I definitely think a personalized one is much better than utilizing the the generic ones that LinkedIn actually has for you. Okay, another question I often get is, how do I get the open to work frame on my profile photo? And the answer to that is right down here under open to work. If you click on that, if you don't have that, you click open to, and you could add that. And you'll see here that even though I'm very, very happy at Turo, I do have down here that I would potentially take a job as a director of career development if somebody will offer me $1 million a year, location, or if I'm open to remote work. So you can include all those things. And when you're actually looking, you see I'm flexible because I'm not actually looking for a job full time. Now, here's how you get that actual frame. You see here, this says recruiters only. If I click this down, and I choose all LinkedIn members, click the save button, and click no thanks. I don't want to post something. Look what happens over here. Just added the open to work frame to my profile. And the only way to get rid of that now is to go back in over here and say, well, I don't want that on my profile right now. I'm switching this back to recruiters only, and look what's going to happen over here. That open to work frame disappears. There was some debate at the beginning as to whether the open to work frame was a positive or a negative. Some people thought it might actually damage them because it shows that they're looking for a job. I don't think that to be the case. Okay, here's your about section down over here. This gives you an opportunity to give much more of a narrative about who you are, what you bring to the table. I'm not going to focus all that much more on that because we don't have as much time, but it's important to put something there. It helps you reach a higher level of attainment on your LinkedIn profile. This is a relatively new section. It's called the featured section on LinkedIn. This gives you the opportunity to feature videos, posts, and other things that really help promote your brand. Now, again, because I'm a person who says that I can give an excellent LinkedIn workshop, as opposed to just saying that, people can click right over here and get the YouTube video of me giving a LinkedIn workshop. So I think this is very, very important. Students should be utilizing this to focus on presentations, other things that they've done. The way you add some stuff is by clicking the plus button right over here. You can add those things. I've also seen students put their resume, as you see right over here, directly on here. So if people want to, they can download it directly on to their computer if they want to take a closer look at that. So I do think this is very important. You always want to lead off with your best stuff. So I have my first 2 or 3 are the ones most people are going to see. Very, very few people are probably going to go beyond that to see the ones past that. Now, moving further down the profile is work experience. So work experience is very important. And one of the biggest mistakes I see here on LinkedIn is when people don't sync it to their company. See, I have the Touro College logo here. If I click this E out, you see how that disappeared? You have to make sure that it autofills and you connect your employment to your company. And that way it's going to show up in searches. In addition to that, you have the ability to put bullets directly in here. I cut and paste this right off of my resume. Now, LinkedIn should make it easier to include bullets. They do not, but I think even though it doesn't look exactly formatted correctly, there's no reason not to include some more of that information and to put it into bullet form. Also, you want the default to have this not to share with your network, because what you don't want to have happen is every time you make a small change to this, it sends a message out to your entire network. So I'll keep that. The other thing that I want to show you is you see here that there's a continuation between multiple positions I've had here at Turo. The way you do that is to make sure these line up. You see here, July 2016 is the end date, and the start date for this one is July 2016. When I'm able to do that and I include that in my work experience, it does include it, and you'll see that continuity, which I think is much more important than having multiple positions. Okay, moving down to education, same thing here. You want to make sure you're going to sync this with your actual college. You see here, UC Riverside disappears. I want to make sure that I sync that. You can also put more information there. If you want to, you can always change which college is featured. So you see up over here, currently UC Riverside is featured here. When my Loyola Ramblers made it to the Sweet 16 a couple of months ago, I just went and switched these because more people were aware of Loyola at the time, and that moved that Loyola right up over there. Now, moving down the profile, next section here I want to show you is the skills section. Very important to have skills. Don't worry so much about the endorsements. The idea is to add skills that are relevant to your field. And you can simply push a button here, and those will add those when you click the add button. It is searchable. So if I wanted to put in, let's say, research, I can come up and say clinical research is what I was talking about. If you want to get rid of one of these, click the button and that will get rid of them. Now, you can only pin 3 of these at the top. So this is also very important. You want to pin your top 3 skills. And the way you do that is to go in here. You see I have 3 pinned. If I click social media, that's not going to let me pin it because it's already pinned with 3. I'd have to unpin one and then click social media, then click save. That'll allow me to change that. Focus on your best 3 over there, because the chances are very, very few people are going to click the show more button and see what you have past that. Now, the last thing I want to focus on is recommendations. Recommendations are much more important than endorsements because it gives people the opportunity to give more of a narrative about you. So you see here that you can ask for a recommendation from folks and you can actually fill that out. The idea is people are actually to describe who you are and what you did. Now, you see here I have one pending recommendation. Why do I have a pending recommendation? The answer is because this is a person who is trying to actually troll me. Perfect Liars for Free was trying to say that I'm a perfect gentleman and hope that I publish that to my profile, which I didn't. Now, I could dismiss this, which I don't, because I use this as an example in my sessions. I could ask them for a revision, again, which I'm not going to do here because this person isn't interested in revising it, or add to my profile. You cannot add this to your profile without the person actually agreeing to the changes you want to make, and they cannot add it to your profile without your permission. I do think it is very, very important for students to get between 3 and 5 recommendations, because in my experience, that pushes you up a little bit higher in the search rankings. Now, one of the last questions that I often get is, what if I have other things I want to include on LinkedIn? Go to add sections. There's a bunch of other stuff you could add here, and honors, awards, projects, test scores, whatever is relevant to you. Make sure that what you're adding is always going to be something professional. Okay, so you want to add your best stuff over here, and that way you have the opportunity to really sell yourself in the best possible way. So that's LinkedIn in basically 15 minutes or left. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn at any time, and I'd be glad to help you with that. I really do appreciate the opportunity NACE gave me to present this workshop, and I'm looking forward to engaging with all of you over the rest of the conference.